And welcome back. Hope you all took lots of great pictures uh, since we last met. I'm seeing a name on my screen, Maureen Petrie.
That's me.
Okay. So I'm going to do a screen share now. And we're going to look at a couple of pictures before we get going. We're going to go into Snapseed today, so I want to make sure before we start that everyone who's here has Snapseed on their phone. It's very easy to access. You go to your app store if you don't have it, type in Snapseed and simply download it, and you'll have it right away if you don't have it. I'll just give you a couple of minutes to do that, and we're going to look at a couple of pictures and talk about why Snapseed is so important. So here's a picture I took. I'm going to open this up. Yesterday. You know, as I said last time, most of us are not going to be going to the south of France to take exciting pictures anytime soon. So we have to be resourceful and find things where we are that interest us. So I had to walk no further than my garden to find this remainder from the storm last week, this little relic from the storm. And this is the photo right out of the camera, right? Not terribly exciting. I mean, everything's okay. It's sharp and all that stuff, properly exposed, but very dull, right? So this is where you can take it. I'm going to open up with Snapseed and other apps too, but mostly Snapseed. So we're going to look at how we do that. And if everyone has Snapseed, if you don't have, please let Cassandra know if you don't have it yet before we begin. If not, we're going to go and I'm going to go back here, and we're going to go to a different screen now. I'm going to go to my iPhone screen. Just give me a moment here. Zoom user. And there we are. And here's Snapseed. Okay. So this is Snapseed. This is the initial. I have a picture opened, and you open it up here where it says open. When you press that button, you get these options down the bottom. Open from device. You can actually take a picture live, or you can open your latest image. In this case, I opened from device. This is a picture I took during the spring. Okay. So that's the first way. That's how you enter a picture onto Snapseed. Where we start, it is here. Down the bottom, you'll see the word tools. I'm going to hit that. And these are all the different ways you can adjust photos in Snapseed. It's absolutely amazing. Now, we're not going to be able to cover every single thing. It would take a long time to do that. We're going to do the really important ones. And the first one we're going to look at is up here on the upper left, called Tune Image. So if everyone can find that, Tune Image. And so I'm going to do that like this. And now you'll see the bottom has changed. We have, if you like what you do, you click the mark here on the lower right to finish the picture. If you don't like it, you want to cancel, hit the one on the left. So you place your finger over here and press, and this menu comes up. Let's do that again. Okay. Now, each one of these exists in your camera. We looked at this last time, all these different adjustments, but you have much more control here. And the really important thing is it's non-destructive. In other words, no matter what you do to your picture here, it doesn't affect the original, okay? So you're not going to sacrifice the original. You can make all the mistakes you want. You can play around here. And when you're finished, you can save it as a separate picture from the original. So that's one of the main strengths for this. So we're going to go through this little menu here and make this picture a little more interesting looking. So the first one we do is called brightness. Now you'll see on the top up here, it says brightness. Now watch what happens when I slide my finger, right, across the screen on the bottom. I'm going to be dragging my finger this way. It goes over to the right. So my finger is going to drag on the bottom like that. And this is what happens. See how the picture gets lighter? Now, obviously, we don't want it that light. In fact, it's not bad where it is. So we're going to leave brightness where it is. I just wanted you to see the blue line at the top. Okay. So I like it where it is. We go to the next one, which is a really important one called contrast. Contrast, let me do that again. It's the second one on the list. And there it is up here. Same idea, slide it over to the right with your finger on the bottom. Now see what happens to the picture as I slide it. You see it's kind of becoming a little more accented, not quite as flat looking. So maybe about there. You don't want to overdo things. You don't want to go all the way on things. About halfway, okay? The next one's also very important. Watch what happens to the color. This is called saturation. Let me do that again. Saturation. Okay. Now watch what happens when I slide over to the right. You see how the flowers on the tree became much more accented. Again, you don't want to go all the way. That's too much. So use your judgment, maybe about there. Looks pretty good. All right. The next one is one of my favorites. It's called ambiance. Let me do that again. Ambiance. Up here. Ambiance. Ambiance kind of opens up the whole picture. I'm going to zoom in a bit so you can see it. And I'm going to maybe better leave it like that. So watch what happens with ambiance. Okay. Notice how the shadows become less dark. Now in this case, it doesn't really add much, so I don't think we need a lot of ambiance. Some pictures you'll find it very, very effective. Just even a little bit can make a big difference, right? So, and here's a nice little trick. If you want to see the picture before you did anything, take your finger and just simply press it on the screen, right on the picture. Before, after, before, after. Very cool, right? So you can see how you're progressing. Back to the little menu. The next one is called highlights. This affects the lighter parts of the picture. Not a whole lot to do with that here. For some pictures, highlights is very important. Not much to do with that here. Shadow is the same. You see when I slide to the left, how the shadows get darker. I kind of like a little of that actually. before, after. See how it just kind of has a little more substance to it, okay? And then warmth. Now warmth we don't really need here. That's, you know, if you take a picture on a really cloudy, gray kind of day, sometimes warmth will, which is the last one on the list, will help the picture become a little more warm looking, okay? So that's pretty much it on tune image, all right? So we went through all of these things quickly. Now, I have to say that every picture I take with my camera finishes up going to tune image, pretty much every picture, because I don't do much work in the camera itself. I do everything in Snapseed because you have more control. And as I said, it doesn't affect the original picture where the camera does. All right. So we like this. So what do? You say, okay, I'm going to settle with that. Boom. All right. There's your retouched picture. Now, clearly, there's some things I don't like about this picture. Lots of things. For example, these phone lines of wires up here, these power lines, this telephone pole, this chunk of road, all of that. So we're going to open up Tools and find the crop tool. Now we have this in the camera too, in the camera editing, right? Same idea, it's a crop tool. So we're going to go with the crop tool. So you find it up here on the upper right, touch your finger on that, and boom, you have a crop tool. Now notice that it brought in the grids. You see this? Those up and vertical, horizontal lines. Now we loaded this onto our camera. So when we're taking pictures, that's actually what we're looking at, which is very, very useful to make straight lines, right? It's just to help you here to crop. So I'm going to crop, this is just using my finger. You can slide any way you like. You can pick any corner. You can pick the top corner. You see these little white triangles here and here. So you do anywhere, you can just move it where you want. So I want to get rid of the road altogether. And I want to get rid of the telephone pole. So, and I want to get rid of a little more on the top. So, let me see, something like that. Right. Not quite big. Okay. All right. I like that. So I like that crop. Again, you come down here, you click that, and now your crop is complete. Now I didn't do a great job there because the telephone pole is still in there. So we have to do that again. Don't want that phone line there. Okay. So how's that? Pretty good. Okay. There it is. Okay. So that's our crop. We got rid of the road, we got rid of the telephone pole. And now we want to get rid of these awful looking power lines up here. So what tool do we use to do that? Open up Tools. Third one from the left is called Healing. Healing. All right. We're going to use the Healing tool to get rid of those power lines. Touch your finger on Healing, and there you go. Now this is a different beast altogether. This comes from Photoshop. Right? I want to remind you also that I'm using a stylus, right? Remember we talked about that last time? because the fingers are often too thick. Yes, you can use your fingers for this. Now, if you want to know what brand that is, I'm not selling anything. This is just to help you find a good stylus. It's called Meko, Meko. Very, very nice tool. It comes with 2 different pens and lots of different extra nibs and things, right? Which is very useful. And you can get them on Amazon. I think they're about 15 or 16 bucks. I'm not sure. But that's really a very useful tool. So I'm going to be using that now to get rid of these wires. So the area of concern is here and up here, okay? So the first thing you want to do is using remember we discussed zooming with your crab claw? We're going to blow the image up using that. Just touch the screen and squeeze. And we're going to start with this line here, this one, okay? And here we go. Gone. Gone. Now, a very useful tool is this little box down here. You just put your finger on the little blue box. It allows you to slide around the image, right, to find the places you want to be, which is we want those power lines up in the top, okay? So that little blue box, very useful right here, okay? So here we go with the other power lines. Okay, how do we do? Do we get it all? Oh, it's a little bit left. A little bit up at the top there. Now, it can get a bit messy when you do this because you might get some overlays of bits of the image, but overall, let's see how we look there. And by the way, if you want to undo something, you just touch this to undo and this to redo, okay? Now let's zoom it down. Let's see how we're doing. Did we get everything we wanted? Yes, it looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. All right, no more power lines, no telephone pole, no road. Now the next thing we might have a look at, we're done with the healing brush, by the way. Now we could get rid of that, you know, if you're obsessed and perfectionist like I tend to be, but it's fine the way it is. So let's click down here and say, okay, thank you. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'd like to boost the color a little bit on this brick wall. So how do we do that? Open up Tools, and this is one of the really cool tools to use here. It's called Brush. It's the second one down on the right. Touch that, and this menu comes up. Now you have 4 different brushes here. The only ones I really use are Dodge and Burn, which means lighten and darken. Dodge means lighten, burn means darken. It's just a photographer term. Saturation we know about already. It increases the color, the richness of the color, okay? So we're going to click on saturation. Now, down here you have these little arrows, and when you click that one down, the number goes from 10 to 5, which means it's less saturation, okay? To get it back again, you touch back to 10, you touch this little arrow and it goes back to 10, which means full saturation, okay? So I picked Maybe 10 is too much. I might like 5 better. So we set it at 5, and now we're going to paint along here with the stylus. So I'm just using the tip of this stylus. So notice how the brick color became much richer looking, right? Here's the before. I have to get all of this. I can show you the before till we finish. I might do some on the grass too. Let me have a look. Yeah, that's kind of nice. A little more green right in there. So that's pretty much it for that. Some pictures you'll find this tool great. You know, there's so many things you can do with it. Now, I encourage you with all of these tools. As I said, we can't cover everything today, but we're covering what I think is some of the really important ones. But play with it, you know, you can't break anything. Just see what happens. Try a button and say, oh, what does that one do? What does this one do? Play around with it because you'll find tremendous creative ideas when you do that, okay? So we're going to get out of here by touching that little thing, and now we're back again. So what else would I like to do with this? Well, let's see, how about, do you know what vignetting is? This is a fabulous tool. I use it on pretty much all my photos in some way. Okay, vignette. I'm going to touch on that with your finger, and here you go. Now, you'll notice this little blue dot right in the second, and you notice also that the line here goes to the left. Most of them go to the right. And it says outer brightness, which is the outside of the picture, not the inside. Okay. So if you put your crab claw on the blue dot, you see that circle? I'm just expanding my fingers like that. Okay, to make the circle bigger or smaller. So I want the circle to be about that much. And watch what happens now when I slide this line over to the left. You see how the corners get darker? Obviously that's too much. But just sometimes a little touch is just all you need. Maybe just even that much. Okay. Some pictures it has a much more powerful impact than others. So I think that's fine. So I'm going to click out of here. Now you have down here, you have some adjustment. You can change the inner brightness too, but it's fine the way it is. So we're going to check here, check out of this. And the last one we're going to use is called frames. Frames, not particularly necessary in every picture. I just like them, especially if you're going to post on Facebook or Instagram or any media like that. It looks very professional, right? So we're going to, excuse me, I can't help getting mail messages. Go away, thank you. We're going to touch on frames down the bottom there in the middle. Frames. Now this is very nice, very easy to use. Okay. It starts off on the far left, like with a white frame. Okay. Now as you slide your finger, you can make it bigger. You see the blue line at the top? You can make it bigger or smaller. I'm just going to add a little bit like that. And I'm going to click OK down here. Boom. Now, I like a second one, so I go back and do it again. Okay. This time, I'm sliding the frames over till I get a black frame. And I'm going to make the black frame smaller so that it just kind of touches the white frame like that, right? You can make it thicker if you want. It's kind of a nice look. Okay, so that's 2 frames. right? And there you go. Before, after. Okay. Now, yeah, it could be different. It could be, you can do it many different ways. It could be, you can make it black and white, for example. You can do all sorts of things, but that's basically a kind of a formula for a picture. You know, just do the same thing with every picture. Go to tune, image, maybe add some color with the brush, maybe do some healing to get rid of a few little things that are sticking out in the wrong place, that sort of thing. And then tidy it up and put a frame around it, and there you go. Now, this is a very important function. How do you save the picture? Okay, so down the bottom here, export, touch that with your finger, and you get a list of options here, okay? The only one we generally want to work with is called save a copy. So this is really important. Make a note of this, because when you do save a copy, it gets saved to your camera roll, but it doesn't affect the original picture. If you go save, you can undo them, but the original will be altered, and you'll have to then go back and rechange it again. So that's way too much work. So make it very easy on yourself and go save a copy. Okay? So that's that. The next thing we're going to look at is portraits. So we're going to go back to my camera stuff here and find a picture to work with. And now we're going to go here, and we're going to go up here to open and see what happens then. Open, we're going to open the latest image, which was the portrait I just loaded. And there you go. All right. So now we're going to work with a portrait in Snapseed. Now, the first thing I notice about this is it's kind of got a kind of a orangey kind of yellowish color. And the reason for that is it was taken indoors with regular tungsten light overhead, regular room lights, right? Which tends to add this sort of color haze over the picture, which I don't find attractive at all. It's not professional either. So what do? Tools. And this one is very easy to use. It's called white balance, and it automatically corrects the color in the picture to bring it back to a more normal type of color. So touch your finger on that. It's right up here on the right, second from the right on the top, white balance. Okay. There's lots of ways to adjust here. The simple way that I use all the time is this little sort of eyedropper here, right? I'm going to touch on that, and this shows up. Now watch what happens when I move it off her face. The color gets corrected. Now it's not perfect, but it's a lot better. So we click OK. There's the before, there's the after. You see, doesn't that look much better? More natural looking. All right. So once we've done that, now we go back into our, guess what, to an image. Because all the pictures need help with to an image. I just wanted to get that done first because it's very annoying and can't really fix that. Well, you could in to an image, but it's much easier with white balance. So here we are. Let's see, do we need it to be brighter? No. We do need it to be more contrasty. So I went to the second one on the menu, contrast. You see it up here. And I'm going to move my finger from the left to the right down the bottom of my little screen here. And see how her face, obviously that's too much. So maybe not that much. Okay, anything else? Saturation. Tiny amount. You don't want to do that. It's much too strong. But maybe that much. Just a little. Ambiance probably won't affect it too much. Don't need ambiance for this picture. So we're going to check out from here with that and go there. All right. So now we're going to go to an amazing tool, open up tools again. And we're going to go to portrait. Okay. So you touch that with your finger and you get portrait tools. Now, one of the things you can do is just hit on each one of these, right? Sorry about that, going. I'm just putting my finger on each of these pictures and watch how the face changes. See, slightly different, every one. Kind of like that one. That one. So you just slide them along with your finger. One. All a little bit different. Now that's quite a bit more contrasty. There's where we started, and there's where I kind of like that. Maybe not quite so much. Maybe a little, maybe about that much. Okay. So now that was accessed by that little box here is where you get the sample pictures. But the one I really like is this one here. So we're going to click on that. And it says face spotlight. Okay, you see where the blue line is? Face spotlight. So let's watch what happens to the face. Slide the picture across. It puts the light, you see how the face is changing there? It's more light on the face than the rest of the picture. Now that's a little too much. So I would come off a bit on that. Still a bit too much. That's about okay. Skin smoothing is the next one. Skin smoothing. You slide up, skin smoothing. Let's see what that does. It just really smooths out the skin beautifully. Look at that, it's just very, very smooth. Okay. Before, after, before, after. Might be a bit hot, maybe back it down a bit. Before, after. Back here. This one is amazing too. Eye clarity. So let's watch the eyes here. I'm going to slide my finger along the bottom. If the thing will catch up. See what's happening with the eye? Before, after, before, after. Okay? Maybe a little strong. Okay. So that was all done with those few little tools. Now again, you can refine this more and more, but that's not bad. Maybe a little bright. Maybe I might go a little less on that. So pretty much like that. I'm going to go down here and click OK. All right. So not bad, not bad. Now this is a little bit soft. It's not as sharp as I would like. Okay. I'd like to sharpen it. So how do we do that? Tools. This one is really useful too. It's right next to an image, and I pretty much use it on every picture in some level, right? It's called details. It has two options. So you touch on that. It has basically two options. One is structure, which we don't use for faces, but we do use sharpening. Structure is okay for nature shots like trees and mountains and things like that. But for faces, it's not great. It brings up too many things you don't want to see. But sharpening is very important. So let's just mag this up a bit so we can see how the sharpening is affecting. So again, sharpening comes from the left over to the right. All right. So just slide the finger along. Okay. Yes, that's better. The eyes are quite a lot sharper than before. Right. This was taken without a tripod in very low light, so that can be often challenging to get a really sharp picture, but it's okay. It's okay. So now let's look at something that's really a fun tool. It lives right next to portrait down here, and it's called head pose. Head pose. All right. We touch on that. And this is going to blow your mind. All right. You have pupil size, smile, and focal length, meaning what kind of lens you're using. But let's start with smile. Just watch the mouth. How about that? Isn't that just ridiculous? Of course, you can overdo it and turn it into a caricature, right? But sometimes, you know, in some faces, just a little upturn of the lips is nice, you know? Okay. The next one is called pupil size, the size of the eyes. So let's see what that one does. Huh, a little weird. Just before, after. It's not a radical change, but definitely, I mean, it's distorted the face. I wouldn't accept that as a finished portrait, but you can see the usefulness of it in other pictures. So I would bring that back a bit. And then the next one is called focal length. All right. Now this does very strange things. It can kind of distort the picture in ways you really don't want, but it's just a fun thing to look at. So I thought you might find that sort of a fun tool to use sometimes. You could turn some of your friends' faces into caricatures and have fun with that. But it's quite useful. Anyway, I'm not going to apply any of that, but I am going to apply a little vignette, which we looked at before, right down here on the left, on the right, sorry, right above export. So I'm going to touch your finger on that, and that brings us back to vignette. So let's see how that works. It's going to darken the corners in this picture. And I'm again using the claw fingers to zoom that circle, you see. Practice that. It's very easy to use. And now I'm going to slide over to the left and watch the corners of the picture getting darker. Now you don't want to go too dark, just a little touch maybe. About that much. See, it just brings attention to the face. It's very nice. You see, I like that. So I'm going to click OK. And I might want to add a frame around this. So we go to our frame tool. And again, I usually start with a white. Right, click OK. Now you could settle with that. It doesn't have to have a black frame. That's nice. If you printed that, it would look very nice. See? Okay. So those are some of the tools. So far we've covered to an image. We covered the brush tool, the healing tool, the portrait tool, and what was this one? The head pose tool and the vignette. Okay. Still lots more tools to explore. So let's bring up another wonderful tool that you're going to like a lot. And that's called text down here. You'll find this one very useful because you can type on your photo names, messages, you know, whatever. You can type with lots of different styles of type. So let's go to that tool. All right. Tool. Touch that. And you get the type tool. Now it's very easy to use. All right. It says double tap here to change text. Oh, okay, let's do that. All right, brings up that window. Then you double tap on this and you get your typewriter. Okay, so let's type in a few words. Click OK. So we have a nice day. All right. Now, you have literally dozens of different type tools down the bottom, which you access via this little gizmo on the right here. I just touched that. Let's do that again. We're going to touch this, no, that one, and bring up all the type options. So if you touch on each word down here, you see, right? And those are the descriptions of them. Have a nice day. Have a nice day. You see, you have lots and lots of different type options. And you can add even these more interesting looking ones, right? Now, what's very cool about it is you're going to take your grab claw and make it bigger or smaller and move it wherever you want, right? You could just have it up there in the corner, or you could have it down there. You can make it bigger. And having done that, you go to this little artist palette here, touch that. Now you can change the color of it. Obviously that's not good. Black is great. Totally gets rid of it. So you've got all these colors. I'm just sliding my finger along the bottom. Okay. Let's see how yellow looks. Pretty good. You see, I mean, you can just play with this endlessly. You know, if you have dogs or pets or cats, you know, you can have little messages on your animal photos, whatever. Very nice. You can have it be any color you want, right? Whatever you like. And you can lower the opacity up. It can be halfway or full. Okay, so any questions about the type tool? We may have some, you know, I'll answer them as soon as we finish. Excuse my email is popping up. So that's called the type tool, the text. So we got that. I'm going to cancel on that. And there we found that right here. Okay, right here. Very useful tool. All right. So how are we doing time-wise? We're okay. We have a couple more things we can do. All right. So I'm going to bring in another photo, and we're going to use another tool. Again, I clicked open up at the top, and it says open image, and I'm going to go yes, and I'm going to go down here, open latest image. And there you go. All right. So what I wanted to do with this picture was do a really quick version of the type of the to an image. I'm just going to sort of whiz through this one. Brightness, we're okay. Contrast, not too much, a little bit. Saturation, yes, I could use a little more of that, not too much, maybe that much. Okay. Ambiance, now this is where ambiance, you'll see quite a difference. You see what happens with ambiance here? Look how everything kind of opens up. Before, after, before, after. I like the back of the chair, maybe a little less. Okay, all right. Anything else? Highlights? A little bit. Okay, I kind of like that. Okay on that. Now the tool we're going to use here is called Lens Blur. Now this is a really nice tool because it gives your photos, you have the chance to create soft focus on certain parts of the image while keeping others sharp. All right. So you're going to touch on Lens Blur with your finger. And again, you have another of these blue lines, okay, these blue dots. And you're going to use your crab finger to squeeze the, sorry about that, blur strip. You're going to squeeze the dot. You can actually shape it like this, you see. You can shape it and have it where you want it to be. So I want everything around them to be kind of blurry, but not them, all right? So that's the way I've set it up. And now, watch the blue line on the top. See, everything around them is becoming very soft, but not them, all right? So I'm going to show you a secret trick which very few people even know about. I'm going to do a full blur, which is way too much, and I'm going to click OK. All right. Now that's way too much. So here's the secret trick. Now pay attention on this one, because if you blink, you'll miss it. All right. You'll never see this in a manual. It's a sort of a secret. You see this little guy up here? Just touch your finger on that, and this opens a menu under the picture. We're going to go to View Edits. And over here, we see Lens Blur. Touch on that, and we have a little option. You can trash it, you can change it, or you can start over. I'm going to use that one in the middle. Start over. Now, what you can do is take your either your finger or your mask tool and simply paint where you want the soft to be. So watch what happens here. Now you can change the amount down the bottom. You see these arrows again? That's 100% soft. That's 75% soft. Okay. If you go all the way down to 0, you get rid of it. So I would like it to be maybe, let's try 75%. Just using this tool here. So there you go. Kind of a nice look. Clicked OK on that. Now to finish it, you have to click this button too. Boom, and there you go. So that's a really, really useful tool, right? You can apply that with all of your photos, not just on this one. That little trick of going up here, which opens up this window, and we're going to go to View Edits. That's how you access. It's called masking. It gives you way much more control to apply the filters where you want them and not just what the machine is telling you, right? Very nice tool. Might add a vignette on that. We know where that one is, right? Let's see how that looks. Oh, quite nice. Maybe that much. All right. Before, after. You see how the color is so much juicier? Look at the green fence, the back of the chair, right? The sky. Much nicer. Okay. And I always use my finishing touch with the white and black frame. Excuse me, that's my phone. I'm not going to answer. So there you go. Again, if you're going to save it, you'll hit export and save a copy. All right. So we're down to, we have a few minutes left for questions. So let's go to questions. I'm going to go up here and I'm going to.
So one of the questions we've had so far is how to adjust text size and placement.
Okay. All right. Let's go back to my phone again. Okay. I'm just getting my screen mirroring back up. And there we are. Okay. Okay. How do you adjust? What were the question again?
It was how to adjust text size and placement.
Okay. With your two fingers. Okay. Watch what happens here. First of all, you have to tap on here to access this. And now you double tap here to access the typewriter. So let's just put a word there. So I type, bad spelling, excuse me. I type the word word, and I'm going to click OK. All right. So now we have some type that we placed. You're going to take your two fingers like this, and you're just going to squeeze the words. You can move, you can make any size you want. You can move it up there, you can move it down here. I'm just using my fingers, right, to move it. And to size it, I'm just using like that. Okay? Got it?
Thank you.
Okay. I have a lot of fun with that.
If you have a question or a comment, please put it into the chat box. If you don't see chat, you click on more and then click on chat. A positive review. This was great. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Have fun. Take lots of pictures.
Another one said, thanks. This was a lot of fun.
Good. Thank you. You'll never be the same. You'll be a better photographer than you were yesterday.
Does anyone have any more questions? Okay, one more question. When I squeeze text, it shrinks the whole photo.
Oh, that's weird. Let me see why. No, that shouldn't be happening. I don't understand why that would happen. Are you in, the picture was up before you entered the type tool? You know, you have to have the picture up before you can enter the type tool. You have to have something to put the type on. So once you have your picture in place and then open the type tool, the picture shouldn't move at all. I can't answer that one for you. I'm
Oh, so the picture has to be up first and then you open the typing tool.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't open the typing tool on nothing. There has to be a picture there.
Right. The next question is, does Richard have a website of his photos?
I don't, but what I do have is Instagram, and I have all my photos on Instagram, and it's you can find it at richard.laird.566. You'll see all of the pictures. I show them on some Facebook sites too. There's a couple of Facebook art and photos. There's one called iPhoneography. It's called iPhoneographers. It's a Facebook page where I show pictures too. It's very good to look at Instagram too. There's so many fabulous photographers. I mean, I can't tell you some of the incredible work that's been done on the iPhone. You know, way beyond just straight pictures. These are really artistic, beautiful works from people all over the world. So I thoroughly recommend searching Instagram and just find, you know, you can type in things like fine art photographies, things like that, or iPhone art photography. You'll get all kinds of pictures to look at.
Were there any other questions? Looks like that's all the questions.
Okay, so I think we're just about done here. Would you like to look at a few more apps for maybe a few minutes? It's only, we have maybe another 5 or 10 minutes?
Yeah, I think we could do that.
Okay. I'm going to show you some really cool apps you might like to have. And most of them are free. I think some of them you might have to pay, 99 cents or $2.99 or something like that. There's one called Waterlog, which I really like. It's a watercolor app. And it opens right here. You come down and you touch to find a photograph. And you go photo library, right? You can also take a picture, but I'm going to go to photo library. And I'm going to open the one we just worked on. And it just did a watercolor painting. How cool is that? And it gives you all the options down here. You touch your finger on the second one, and a different type of watercolor comes up. They're all a little different. Right? Very nice. There's another water one called Simply Water. Simply Water right here. Okay. Down the bottom, you get a photo. Let's do.
Oh, Richard, what was the name of that app again?
The first one was called Waterlog. L-O-G-U-E. Waterlog. And this one's called Simply Water. Now, it's very simple to use. You just simply touch each of these boxes down here. I mean, I think I like that one actually better than the Waterlog. They're both excellent. They just do slightly different things. And again, you're just going to touch your finger on each one, and it'll change the type of. See, that's dramatically different than the first one and the third one. See, quite different. So those are some fun things you might want to play with. I have a lot of fun with these. I just did a picture recently. Let me see if I can find it. Of a flower. Oh, there it is. Not that one. That one. There. Sorry, it's taking a while to catch up. There you go. Poof. Gee. Hi. There you go. So that's done with Waterlog. All right. There's the photo, by the way. There's the photo. And there's the water painting. All right. So those are a couple of apps you might like to have fun with, especially if you like flowers and nature and things like that. But they look great on everything. You can take it if you have a dog or a cat. You can do great looking pictures. So I think that's it for today. I'm going to get out of this and I'm going to stop sharing and go back to the screen. So I hope you all got a lot out of that, and that you'll have a different way of being a photographer going forward. You can see all the options you have. It's just amazing. And cell phone it's just an amazing tool. I mean, I would never have imagined even 5 years ago that I'd be doing all my photos with this camera, with the phone. So thank you all for coming, and have a wonderful rest of your summer. Take lots of photos.
Thank you, Richard. You too.
Thank you. Bye-bye now.